All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We are so excited to welcome back our alumni so that they can share more about their career experiences. My name is John Keith Thakrar. I'm a student in the School of Social Transformation, majoring in Justice Studies with a minor in psychology. Um, so without further ado, let's get started. Just so you know, our lovely Seda Gilbert is going to be watching the chat so that she can answer any questions. Um, this event will also be recorded and posted to YouTube so that you can reference any information should you need it. Christina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Course. Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Badilla. I am an ASU alumni. I graduated, I was part of the class of 2021 and 2022. So I received my bachelor's in justice studies, and then I applied for what was the 4+1 program, so accelerated master's program. So I also have my master's in justice studies. During my time, I also received minors in criminal justice and criminology, women and gender studies, and then I did a few of the certificates offered through ASU. And then currently I work for Maricopa County Juvenile Probation as a project lead senior.
Awesome, thank you. Um, so first question, could you share your career background, including key insights and pivotal moments from your career journey that shaped where you are today?
Yeah, I would definitely say for me, my career background, I come from kind of a mix. So I come from marketing that I did while I was, a student at ASU, totally unrelated to what I do now. It was just kind of a job to keep me going through school. And then right out of graduation, I was able to start with the department. So for me, it was a hard shift from marketing to juvenile probation just because I didn't feel like I had per se that career experience, but I had the educational background. But through my time, I've been able to kind of package my marketing background to benefit me in what I do now. So while marketing and juvenile probation might not go together on first thought, I've been able to bring kind of that expertise into here to allow me to do my work at a kind of have a different lens of looking at things.
Yeah, that's really great. I like how you combine the two. So now shifting more into your education, what influenced your decision to choose your major? And can you discuss any specific ways that your education directly impacted your career path or your professional outlook?
Yeah, originally I was on, track to become a lawyer. That was my goal, a criminal defense attorney. And so originally I was criminal justice major, and then last minute I changed my major just because I wanted to be on main campus, and I discovered justice studies, which worked out great for me because I realized that justice studies was much more aligned with what I wanted to focus on. So I'm very glad I found the major. For me, after that, kind of what influenced the type of work I did while being a justice studies major was, really pinpointing a topic I was interested in due to a research class I had to write a paper for. I was interested in childhood trauma and its impacts. I'm looking at it as a lawyer lens. What research would benefit me once I get to law school and so forth. So I took the interest in childhood trauma. From there, that kind of snowballed into ACEs and, how does it relate to school and so forth. And before I knew it, I had a very big interest with working with our juvenile population, and I was able to take on internships at a local high school through Care 7. And from there, I realized, wow, I really enjoy working with kids in the setting. And I realized, the types of traumas our kids do go through, and that may go unaddressed, and how they can impact the education opportunities that they achieve. And then I was able to get another internship where I was able to I was working for a union. So I was able to kind of see what types of policies that go into place that then, kind of trickle down to impact the students at hand. So I got kind of both sides. And so from there, I realized that I wanted to work with kids and juveniles and wanted to essentially, how do we create programs to help diminish or help minimize the impact that risk factors can have on kids. And so last minute, I decided not to go for my law JD degree and instead decided to exit with my master's and pursue this field.
Wow, awesome. It sounds like you've got so much experience. Now this is a question I'm interested in. What specific classes or projects during your studies were most instrumental in developing the skills that set you apart in your career?
I would definitely say the research classes, so qualitative and quantitative analysis classes, while they might not have been as super fun while taking them, they have definitely benefited me because, I have that experience and I can bring that lens to my work. I don't have to necessarily refer to other individuals who are more experienced in that. I have a good basis of it and I can apply it to what I do now. So.
Yeah, awesome. Um, Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Um, so in your opinion, what emerging skills or competencies are becoming essential for this field, and how can new graduates best cultivate them?
Yeah, I would definitely say new skills, in my opinion, would probably be just being a forerunner, being able to take a task and run with it, with little to no guidance. I think if you can show that skill that you can really take charge and that you can ask questions when needed, but not overly ask questions. I think that really puts you and sets you aside when it comes to other individuals because you can be tasked with items and you can also be leaned on to when it comes to inquiries and advice and ideas for further development. So.
Yeah, awesome. So this is a two-part question. What were some of the most complex challenges you faced in your career, and how did you navigate them?
I would definitely say the most complex was probably just job applications right out of college. I had decided in February I wasn't going to law school, and then I was graduating early May. So that was a very large shift for myself. So I would definitely say complexity was job applications. Like I said, I came from a marketing background and I was wanting to work with juveniles, and for some departments and institutions that I applied to, that wasn't a clear correlation. So I didn't maybe stand out when it came to applicants. I would say I was kind of able to navigate it just honestly by not giving up and continuing to pursue opportunities. If I felt like it was directly aligned with what I wanted to do, or if I thought that maybe it wasn't, even with my current position, I didn't realize to what extent that it would be absolutely aligned with my goals of what I wanted to achieve when I was finished with college.
Yeah, awesome. And so this is the second part of the question. What accomplishments or aspects of your work bring you the most fulfillment?
Working with our kids for sure. Working with youth can be definitely very challenging, but also very rewarding. You're working with youth and adolescents, so it can be definitely difficult. But I will say being able to possibly make that difference in one kid's life is for me the most fulfilling. If I work with 100 kids, but I'm only making a true impact on one, for me, that is the most fulfilling. And at least, the other 99 kids that I might work with, I might not be the reason why they might turn things around, but I might be a stepping stone at going towards that one reason. So.
Yeah, awesome. I like how you get the most fulfillment from just like helping people and like just seeing them succeed.
Mhm. Yes.
Um, so could you describe a typical work week or day on the job, and highlight the key responsibilities or unexpected elements that require you to adapt quickly?
Yeah. Day-to-day work week would look like I'm in office most days, 3 days out of the week. I have 2 telework days. Of course, that is dependent on my specific position. I'm very email oriented. So I'm answering emails all day. Excel is your best friend, and the more skills that you have when it comes to Excel formulas and so forth, it definitely makes you more valuable because I bring a very tracking mindset to it, record keeping. So once again, the fact that I can produce those real fast and easily, that helps me. So day to day is typically sometimes youth and family phone call contacts, reminders. I mostly deal with mostly work with our juvenile probation officers, sending them reminders or updates on their youth status. I'm also a supervisor, so I supervise a team as well to make sure that they are meeting their requirements and so forth. And a main aspect is of my position is developing programs. So not only am I carrying a lot of load of other various projects I work on, but I'm also here to help develop and implement various projects that the department wants to get started. So that's a lot of background work. We're trying to get a idea going. How do you create buy-in with individuals who might not be familiar with the program that you're trying to bring in? What are the pros? What are the cons? What are going to be the struggles? And how do you face the struggle and overcome it? So that's pretty much a lot of my work week, but I would definitely sum it up with a lot of emails on top of a lot of other various tasks going on. It's
Yeah,
never a
go ahead.
same day.
Yeah, you sound so busy. But all good things. So this is another two-part question. Reflecting on your career since graduating from ASU, what insights or lessons have you gained that would be valuable as a new graduate? And then the second part is, what is the most impactful piece of advice you've received early in your career that has influenced your professional growth and decisions?
I would say the most valuable or invaluable insight for me probably would just to be to build off my strengths. Like I said, I think the biggest struggle I had was how do I go from marketing and apply that to juvenile probation because at first I didn't see that correlation. And it was definitely a struggle starting new and be like, oh, where do you come from? I come from marketing. Sorry, one second, my computer is acting up a little bit. Um, but being able to recognize my skills and find ways to apply it in resumes or in cover letters or even in job interviews, being able to take what I offer and apply it and package it in a way that seems very intriguing to job applicants and employees. As for the second part of that question, I think the most impactful piece of advice I've received would probably be it's okay to ask questions and it's okay not to know everything, especially as a supervisor. It was my first time becoming a supervisor, so it's very intimidating when you have individuals now coming to you, asking you questions that you don't know the answers to, and learning that it's okay that you also don't know those answers because then that becomes a learning opportunity for you to better build up your leadership skill set. So, of
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
course.
So it looks like another panelist has joined us. Would you like to introduce yourself, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. So, quick bio. My name is Ryan Hubble. Women's studies, women and gender studies, graduate class of 2006. Got a master's in sociology from SUNY Stony Brook in 2008. Focusing on masculinity and violence. And I've taught high school boys at an all boys Jesuit Catholic school for the past 15 years. So yeah, that's what I do. If you have any more specific questions, how that journey happened or whatever, happy to answer them. Yeah.
We do. So to start, could you share more about your career background, including key highlights and pivotal moments from your career journey that shaped where you are today?
Yeah, so the long and the short of it was that I was doing grad school in New York and had the full intention of going to ASU to become like a professor. Michelle, who was on this call, was part of the team that was trying to get me over there to be part of the faculty. Moved all my stuff back from New York in December of 2008, and obviously 2008 was when the Great Recession happened. So I kind of had to figure things out. Did a lot of odd jobs to pay for bills and was newly married then. It was a great first year into marriage, is trying to figure out how to sell magazine ads to pay it for rent. But I had a best man at my wedding. His sister works at Brophy, where I work at, and she got me an interview. And I remember people on this call probably don't never got the privilege of having her, but They called one of my references, who is Georgianne Shiner Gillis, and they said to them, "What are we going to do with a women's studies degree at Brophy? Like, what does he teach?" And she's shocked. She said, "I'm shocked you haven't had one yet." Um, and it seems like an odd fit that, a guy with a women's studies degree to be teaching at an all boys school. But I'll tell you, man, it's the perfect place for this kind of training and education. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing. So going more to your academic background now, what influenced your decision to choose your major, and can you discuss any specific ways your education directly impact your career or your career path or your professional outlook?
Yeah, so I entered college being a philosophy major because I read Emerson in high school and thought I was smart and interesting, I guess. And I took a class called WST 300, which was Women in Society with Michelle McGivney, and it totally changed the course of my life, to be honest. I met with her afterwards and I said, "Hey, I'm kind of interested in this." And I fact checked this with her before I came on this call. Um, and I think I was, one of the first, like second or third, like white cis dudes to declare the women's studies major. And literally, I can name Rose White's, Georgianne, Mary Rothschild, Michelle, like they became like surrogate aunts to me. Like I was just so close and tight with the program. Funny story. Georgianne's daughter, Liz, now teaches or has taught my kids. So we have pictures of like two generations of like Hubble Gillis pairings. And I can't say enough good things just about like not only the program and the education, but man, the people. Like I'm not kidding when I say when I'm having troubles with my job prospects or what do I do? I like, text away and they're just wonderful human beings. Yeah.
Yeah, I can attest that on the student side, I love the SST faculty and they're always there for me if I need anything, always an email or just a 15-minute walk away. And yes, there are certain classes that will completely just change your outlook on life and in your career. So which specific classes or projects during your studies were most instrumental in developing the skills that set you apart from others in your career?
So I think, like I said, the WST 300 class definitely changed my pathway. I remember Georgianne taught a class called Women in the Body that was really game changing for me. I took a feminist theory class with Mary Rothschild, and I was pretty used to being in anywhere between 30 to 90 person classrooms and being the only guy in them. And Mary said something to me in that class that I'll never forget. Because I'd been a major for a few semesters at that point, and I kind of stood out a little bit. And she came up to me on the first day of class and she's like, "I don't want you to talk for a month. I just want you to listen." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "When you speak, people are immediately going to go like this. They're going to look at you. They're going to like, okay, this guy's talking and he's, kind of different in the room. And I don't want you to dominate the conversation." And I was like kind of taken aback at first because like I didn't come in here to dominate any conversations, but it was a really practical lesson in social positioning and social power that I've taken with me for the rest of my life, honestly. Knowing like what my social position is and how it's viewed. And like I said, she's still a surrogate aunt to me to this day. Can call, text her. She wasn't being mean, but that was a really like influential, instrumental lesson and something I tell that story every year to my boys, like my students at Brophy. Yeah.
Yeah, what an interesting story and what a lesson you learned out of that. Um, so in your opinion, what emerging skills or competencies are becoming essential for your field and how can new graduates cultivate them?
Um, I think the interdisciplinary approach that the School of Social Transformation takes is huge. Like being able to merge different knowledge bases from different places is massive. Um, I'll say especially for men, like the thing I think I've taken most with me is the walking the walk, so to speak, in terms of balancing career and family life. I didn't mention this in my bio, but I got 5 kids, like 12, 8, 6, and then 2 2-year-olds. And so like sorry to curse, but I was telling Georgianne about something with like, a conflict between like work and life balance. And she said, "Oh, you thought the shit was supposed to be easy?" And I kind of like laughed and I said, "Okay." And so it's been really good for me to like um have that knowledge base of juggling work and career. I make a point of like if a kid is sick or I have to, grab them and I still have to teach, I bring the kid in with me. I want the boys to see men juggling work and family life. I feel like that's part of their education, right? To say like, it's not just this is hard, but this is necessary. This is what being a dad looks like, right? So, yeah, I think a lot of the skills I took away are almost absurdly practical and not knowledge based, but they're super important.
Yeah, on the other side, I was a kid who was dragged into my parents' business if I was ever sick. So I definitely learned a lot from
Sure.
that. Um, so this is a two-part question. What were some of the most complex challenges you faced in your career and how did you navigate them? And then the second part is what accomplishments or aspects of your work bring you the most fulfillment?
I think the most complex challenges have been, like I was speaking to earlier, the work-life balance. You realize the work world is not built for families and especially not built for involved fathers, right? And speaking truthfully, I mean, I love this place. I'm talking to you from my classroom right now, right? But we're talking about an institution that was formed and founded by celibate men, and the structures are still in place that like kind of prop that up. So me trying to be an involved father and being there for like the shots and the performances and all the class parties has been a point of friction, but it's a point of friction that I lean into um willingly because I think of the education and armor I got from wonderful people like Michelle and Georgianne and Rose and Mary. Um, the second part of your question was what again? Can you remind me?
Um, what accomplishments or aspects of your work bring you the most fulfillment?
Yeah, so um I'm proud of the mark I've left on this place insofar as we do this thing every year called the Summit on Human Dignity, which basically it's like a little conference where we bring in a bunch of people from different backgrounds to speak to our students on a particular subject. And my second year here, I was asked to lead it, and I led it for 12 years. And the first three I ever did were race, class, and gender, just sort of like, identity issues and getting a bunch of like literally an audience of 1,300 teenage boys and giving them kind of like a, you know, quick primer in the education that I got in college was a proud moment of mine, to kind of speak to a lot of these issues. And Michelle was part of those. She gave some workshops. And I think that's a stamp I've left on this place that I'm definitely really proud of.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Um,
I think that one of our viewers has a question. Joy, if you'd like to ask.
Hi, Seda. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. So actually, Ryan, you're really hitting on the theme of the work play balance. And so first of all, let me explain something. I have been working on finishing my degree for 41 years, probably longer like than most of you guys are born. But it's just, I love school. So even when I was taking care of a family and, meeting the needs of a wife and mother, it was still a lot of business at hand. So I could do that with a pot on top of my head, blindfolded, one arm. It was like I was just like a master at it. However, I always made sure that I had time for myself so that I wasn't totally stressed out because I would see family members and friends, they were just so stressed out. They had like high-powered careers, you know, somewhere in grad school working. And I was like, no, no, thank you. That's not gonna be me, just wine and weed like for the rest of my life because I'm so stressed out. So here I am, finishing the last year of my degree. I'm so excited. But can you tell me, Ryan and Christina, what does your work week look like on an hourly? Because I'm like 40 hours with school, and this is it. Like I can't even hardly socialize because I got 40 hours a week of school. You know, I get one day. I'm like, it's a lot. So are you guys able to, what does your hourly work week look like? Because I might just get the degree and opt out of a career. I'm serious.
Whoever would like to go first.
I can. I work straight 40 hours a week. So luckily when I clock out from work. I can't
Woo!
guarantee that my mind doesn't clock out from work, but I do clock out. I have kind of toyed with the idea of going back for either my PhD or my master's, and if I would be able to continue my position while also pursuing that. And I think with enough determination, I probably could, but it doesn't, but I also know I would be accepting a very strained timeline just to, even though I work 40 hours, it can be very draining sometimes. And to pair it up with, all the work that would possibly go to a PhD. So I hope that answers your question from my perspective.
Yes, it helps. Thank you so much.
So I'll give you a real tangible story to talk about this. When my wife had twins, we already had 3 kids, and those 3 kids were in school. And so, being a teacher, you get prep periods. And so, I fought with the school and said, "Hey, I would like first period prep because the school they go to, school starts at 8, but the little kids you can't drop off until 7:45." I started teaching at 8 too, so that made getting from school to work like really a challenge. And I kind of had a fight with them to say, "Hey, can I get this first period prep? Because I'm not going to ask my wife to pack up 2 newborns in a car to drive less than a mile to a school where I can just drop them off and then come to work and get my stuff ready. And then, I might miss 15 minutes of prep time." So they finally relented when I had 5 kids instead of 3. So to answer your question, the work week looks like, I wish I was as good as Christina about turning off when I got home, but unfortunately, like the life of a teacher is like, grading and stuff and, planning. And a lot of that happens for me between bedtime and my bedtime, putting the kids down and going to a coffee shop or going to the kitchen after I finish dishes. And so it's tough, but it's a season. It's a season of life I'm in. I'm committed to trying to be as equal of a partner as I can in the home. That's really important to me. So yeah, and it's also, I firmly believe the skills that you learn with these degrees are not only applicable but needed in various different industries. I want women's studies majors in education and I want them in finance. I want them in construction, because it's not just academia or social work or think tanks. We need these skills everywhere. I truly believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for answering her question.
Yes, thank you so much.
We have another question in the chat from Dominic, who is a recruitment coordinator. He asked, what would you say to a prospective student interested in justice studies to stoke their interest in the major, and why should a student major in justice studies?
I guess I'll go again first. I would say for me, I really enjoy justice studies. It was one of my favorite. I'm very glad, and I always tell you know, individuals looking at college, or, you know, when we're recruiting, I'm like, oh, they're just a studies major, check them out, because it's very broad. You're learning about so many different topics, and you have the opportunity to really like keen into different areas. You know, as I mentioned, I was just a studies major, but because of the various classes I had to take, or the various, you know, courses that I had to take in the realm of related fields, I was able to go get, you know, various minors and certificates in areas that I didn't realize I would have an interest in. And I didn't realize the impact those classes would have on me until I took it. And then I was like, okay, let me take another class in that field. So I will say it's very broad, and you cover so much territory, and it helps you really understand kind of how the world and society works, and how things have been kind of built in and ingrained that explain some of the items we see today. And it also helps make you really want to become that advocate to maybe correcting or maybe being that difference to help an area of interest.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna add on to this, as a student. Sorry. I definitely think that I love justice studies. I was really in between poli sci and criminal justice, but I think justice studies is like the perfect fit just because it covers so many topics. And like I said earlier, the faculty is great and so accommodating and helpful. So yeah. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. This sort of goes off of Joy's question from earlier, but could you describe a typical work week or day in the job, highlighting the key responsibilities and unexpected elements that require adaptability? And this is towards Ryan.
Typical work week. So, yeah, it's my schedule is I teach from 8 to 3 essentially. And adaptability for me means like I mean, I teach teenage boys, so they live in a world of like, you know, it's scary how many of them like idolize Andrew Tate, like for example, right? He's big right now. And so to me, adaptability means if I hear something, okay, how do I challenge that while at the same time not shunning the kid or alienating him, and or a moment where he can grow rather than just shaming him, kind of thing. Like that's the stuff I'm trying to do constantly. The more and more I've done this job, the more and more I'll tell you, like, you know, the classes I teach, quote unquote, are sociology and AP psychology. But I think my job boils down to two things. It's one, letting kids know that an adult outside of their parents cares about them and loves them dearly, right? And two, getting kids to be curious about something, like literally anything, right? And the clay I have to work with is the content in my class, but I think my job is forming young men. That's my job. And so the adaptability comes when, you know, all the time, you know, especially with my freshmen, a girl will get brought up in, like, you know, our neighboring school, and somebody will say like, oh, is she hot? And I'm like, okay, cool, let's talk about this. Can we have a conversation about a colleague and a peer without first mentioning their appearance? You know, it's okay to call someone beautiful, it's okay to be attracted to someone, but can that not be the first defining characteristic that we initially go to, right? So little moments like that where you're adapting on the fly and trying to, you know, little chisels in the statue, what's going to be this man in, you know, for 8 years, kind of thing.
Yeah, that student teacher connection and outreach is so important. Um, but yes, I bet working with high school age boys is very fun. So, this is our final question, and it's two parts. So reflecting on your career since graduating from ASU, what insights have you gained that would be valuable as a new graduate? And then the second part of the question is, what is the most impactful piece of advice you received early in your career that has influenced your professional growth and decisions? Like, again, directed towards you, Ryan.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
So the most impactful piece of advice I received, um, was just to kind of like, let's be honest, you could pursue a lot more money with different degrees. Like if you're in finance or if you're in business or something like that. Um, I had a teacher, Rose Whites, and she constantly told me you got to do the work. You chose this major because do something of value and of benefit here. And so I think about that weekly. It's just like what am I doing to do the work, right? And sometimes that looks like, um taking sick time to take my kids to dentist appointments. And sometimes that looks like intercepting conversations with kids that I know are kind of like borderline misogyny, but also trying to make it approachable in a kind of like a funny way kind of thing. Um, the first part of the question, remind me again.
So the first part of the question is reflecting on your career since graduating from ASU, what insights or lessons have you gained that would have been invaluable as a new graduate?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think I would study what I wanted to study, but go into an industry where I knew I could thrive. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think it truly matters. Like, people, we have people in industries that don't have degrees that match that industry. And so I think there's been a big push as of late to, you know, steer kids towards STEM and away from the humanities. And I'm really sad about that a little bit. And I think there is still room for the humanities in programs like, the School of Social Transformation. And if you have these skills, be confident in them a little bit and know that you chose this major for a reason. And if you're worried about like financial incentives, like it'll work itself out because you're developing skills that are true to yourself, true to your values, and that make the world a better place. Yeah.
That's a great response. Thank you for sharing. And then this brings us to the end of our event. So thank you, Christina and Ryan, for sharing all of your insights, and we're so happy to have you. Seda, would you like to add anything or?
Thank you all so much for being here tonight. We will have this on the cloud. I hope students that were able to attend that you'll come and follow up. We'll be able to connect further and talk more about your own career goals, as well as the things that we heard from Christina and Ryan. We were expecting to have 2 other panelists. Unfortunately, life happens. And so we will have to connect with Jamie Watson, a lawyer in Massachusetts, and Dr. Tiara Ellis, who is a psychiatrist out in California. And how wonderful that we can do this on Zoom and have the opportunity to connect together. We'll connect with them another time. In the meantime, everyone have a wonderful evening. Again, we appreciate you all so much. Jonki, thank you so much for facilitating this panel for us.
Yes, of
And
course.
we will see you all again in another circumstance soon. Thank you so much. Have a great night.